Hi, thank you for joining me today. I wish I didn't have to make this video as it's not going to be easy for me to make, but I feel it's very important for me and my healing, and hopefully it will help just one person who's hurting or grieving and to let you know you're not alone. Let me start by saying cancer is evil. It's the devil that is trying to take out so many people, and there's still no cure. Well, to our knowledge, there isn't. But I'm not going to go into my theory as it will ignite propaganda and ignorance, and that's not what my channel is all about. My sister Rhonda, who was a month away from turning 62, she'd been sick with the virus and a pretty bad sore throat for about a month and was put on several antibiotics and cough syrups and throat medicine as her throat was always on fire. She tried so many remedies. We finally talked her into going to the emergency room on June 27th, 2021. And that night slash the next day, because it went into the middle of the night, she was diagnosed with leukemia. Do you know, 10 days later, on July 7th, she took her last breath. We were called on July 4th to come and say our goodbyes, as she only had 24 to 48 hours left to live. It was such a shock, to say the least. We packed up the car and left within an hour and drove straight to the hospital in North Carolina. It took us 9.5 hours. So many emotions filling all of us as we were watching the fireworks driving through several cities. The fireworks were like shock waves and a sense of eeriness that came along with it. I kept remembering my conversation I had with her that night, the night she found out that she had leukemia. She told me she was scared. She was really scared. We talked about many things. I tried to keep her mind off of her diagnosis. She looked so sick and she looked so tired. My heart ached for her. My heart was aching. That was the last time I had any length of a conversation with her. I kept questioning myself and trying to find answers. How can a person be diagnosed with cancer and lose their life that soon? Of course, when I was talking to her, you know, the night she found out, she didn't know she was going to lose her life that soon. None of us did. It really did happen so daggone fast. We were all stunned, most especially her husband, Richard, who's an amazing husband and took very good care of her. My heart still aches for him as he is now alone, but he is doing well and he has adjusted to life without Rhonda. But I know it hasn't been an easy road. He's a very private person who does not show his emotions very well. But we saw the hurt, we saw the devastation. He still talks with, of course, their children, their adult children, and gets updates consistently on the grandkids. And we call him and we catch him up on his nieces and nephews. So I know he's not alone per se. Rhonda has been missed by, of course, her husband and her two children, her three grandchildren, and of course, our mom, our two sisters and two brothers, and of course, many nieces and nephews. Oh, I don't want to forget to mention all the neighborhood cats and dogs and birds and butterflies and crickets and you name it. Animals seemed to attract her, and they loved them all. She would sit out on the front porch and all the animals and stuff would just go and they just land on her. Birds and I mean, just name it. And she just attracted animals and she just had a very loving heart and she was just an amazing person. And she is definitely missed. Now I want to talk about my friend Gabrielle. Gabrielle was one of my best friends. She was 64 years old and I just lost her last Sunday, June 1st, 2025. Gabrielle had the same type of leukemia as my sister. But she had a bit longer. She fought her battle for a year and a half. She also had a bone marrow transplant, which came from her son. Unfortunately, her body only accepted it for a short time, as she went into remission for about 2 months, but the cancer came back stronger. And then the chemo just stopped working. She stayed scared most of the time. She did not want to die. Her youngest daughter, Mei, who is my daughter's best friend, she'll be 18 next week, and she graduates high school next May. She wanted to be here so bad for those 2 milestones. I was blessed that we got to her house last Sunday at the same time as the priest and the deacon. They gave her her last rites, and then about 5 hours later, she took her last breath. That was so hard, but I knew she was with God and she was no longer in pain. Gabrielle left behind her husband, her wonderful husband, her 2 sons, her 2 daughters, 5 grandchildren, 1 dog, and 4 cats. She was also an animal lover. She loved her family fiercely. She also had several friends, but her best friend Britta and I were there when she took her last breath and her soul went to heaven. It was such a peace and a sadness, but a happiness to know that she's up in heaven with God and her son and her parents and all her loved ones that have gone before her. And we knew she wasn't in any more pain. Cancer does not care who you are, how old you are, how kind you are, how loving you are. It keeps hitting hard. It keeps hitting my family. My husband is in remission from prostate cancer. My other sister had ovarian cancer and beat it. One of my brothers is fighting bladder cancer right now as we speak, and has been having a bit of a hard time with the chemo. Every time I hear of another cancer victim, it feels like my heart keeps ripping apart piece by piece. Sorry. Did you know that every 3 minutes, someone in the US is diagnosed with leukemia? Every 9 minutes, someone dies from blood cancer. Cancer is the second leading cause of death worldwide. 1 in 2 men and 1 in 3 women will be diagnosed with cancer in their lifetime. That's a lot. It's not just about my loss. It's an epidemic of pain, an invisible war that millions of people are fighting every single day. Also, this is not just about statistics. This is real life. This is waking up every day with a hole that never heals, watching people you love fade while you can't do a thing to stop it except to pray. And pray, I did and I do every day. My sister and friend had decades left to live. They should be here with their families. They were warriors. I watched them fight with everything they had: the nausea, the fatigue, the surgery, the bone marrow transplants, the hope, and then the heartbreak. They were more than just a diagnosis, they were light. But cancer extinguished that light. I'm making this video not just to grieve and hopefully heal, but to speak up, because this isn't okay. This can't be normal. We can't just accept that so many people we love are dying like this. I'm linking resources in the description section if you would like to know more about leukemia or other types of cancer and how you can help. Please share this information because we cannot let cancer win. We just can't. For Rhonda, my sister, my beautiful sister, and my beautiful friend Gabrielle, you will be forever in my heart. We love you and miss you terribly. Your memories will last forever. Thank you for taking the time and allowing me to use this time to grieve and to heal by talking about Rhonda and Gabrielle. God bless, and I'll see you next time. Bye.